rolling out the beta of our PC mod preview.
These are professional level tools and definitely take some time to learn. There's a lot of power there.
Hey there, Icarus here. You may recall just over a month back, we had QuakeCon, and they made the wonderful announcement that they were opening modding capability for Doom Eternal to practically everyone, right down to releasing the idstudio tools used to create and build a lot of the stuff within Doom Eternal for free. This also came alongside an integrated mod browser and submission window that launches before you get into Doom Eternal proper, allowing you to browse what's available, maybe submit some stuff of your own, and queue it up so you can actually play it in-game. But I figured none of this stuff manifests overnight, and it's worth giving people time to get to grips with things such as the idstudio software before seeing what people are making with it. So I figured I'd give everyone a month or so. And here we are, a month or so later, checking in to take the temperature of the mod scene now that this tool has been available and the list has had time to populate. So, what have we got? Well, for the most part, a lot of the stuff you'll see in the mod browser as of now is pretty baseline, simple stuff. You want more skins for your weapons? There's a lot of those. You want additional skins for the Doomslayer? There's a fair few of those as well. I'm particularly partial to the Supreme skin, as am I the Prince of All Slayers skin, because either of these in cutscenes, instant amusement. What can I say? I am easily pleased. As for in-game, truth be told, nothing's really all that different. Practically the same as it ever was. Oh, wait, yeah. About that. You can modify the Mancubuses to now be big chunguses, or big chungibuses, so to speak. And if you're dealing with the Cyber Mancubuses, they are now Let me try that again. Shrekubusy. No! Shrekubuses. There we go. On top of all that, if you're tired of firing standard rockets from your rocket launcher, you can now transform it into a weapon truly formidable in that it fires burgers, while the King of Hyrule yells dinner every time you do it. As for other weapon tweaks, I don't know about you, but the Super Shotgun is a tremendously disappointing weapon in that it doesn't fully obscure practically a third of the entire screen. Modding, however, in all its infinite glory, fixes that particular problem. And why, yes, how astute of you, dear viewer, to notice that the sounds for most of these weapons have now indeed been replaced by the superior audio choice, that being Half-Life weapon sounds. Now, if we can just get the demons to emit scientist yells, I think we'll truly have an 11 out of 10, but alas, a month, it seems, is clearly not long enough. The scene needs time to cook. On the more technical side of things, I guess, gameplay tweaks are also something that you'll see pop up on the mod browser. This can range from things that simplify certain things about Doom Eternal, replicate other kinds of play styles, and personally, I'm not too worried about tweaking my raw Doom Eternal gameplay experience as of yet. In fact, I'm not even sure I've managed to fully regain that muscle memory that I had to develop the first time I played through Doom Eternal and its expansions. If anything though, at this stage, I'm more invested in seeing what people are able to conjure up when it comes to custom level creation, now that mappers have the ability to more directly tinker with the engine under the hood. So, how about them maps? Well, there's certainly a few interesting picks even now 1 month in, but it's also worth identifying that there's a few different categories of custom maps. You might note that there's a tag for some of these which list them as legacy maps, and from what I can tell, that means that these are pre-existing custom maps on something like Nexus mods that have been ported into the browser here for ease of use and installation, and a common thread that you'll probably identify through these maps is that they are largely intended to rip your fucking balls off. Basically, I wouldn't recommend jumping into most of these unless you are heavily familiar with the mechanics, the gameplay, you've really built up that muscle memory with Doom Eternal, and ideally, you've already finished the game maybe front to back multiple times, at minimum, on ultraviolence. Now, as you might imagine, as someone who has spent a bit of time away from Doom Eternal, I ate my fill. I moved on. I went back to my classic Doom mods, my GZ Doom stuff. Oh boy, did I have a rough time with a lot of these. But hey, if that's your bag, you are well catered to. Outside of the legacy maps, you've also got some of the more, in my opinion, interesting stuff that's actually being generated using idstudio, or at least I imagine it is. I wish there was a bit more of an identifiable tag for these maps that designate whether or not they were created using idstudio, but as for the tagging system in the mod browser, well, that's a whole can of worms that I'll get to a little later, because all I'll say right now is it needs work. But yes, if you're in the mood for interesting recreations of classic Doom maps and other interesting picks from other games that you may not typically associate with Doom, well, hey, you got a good few entries here on the mod browser. There's, of course, a recreation of E1M1. Visually, it seems to fit quite nicely within the Doom Eternal aesthetic. As for the actual gameplay within it, of course they couldn't resist shoving a few Hell Knights in there. And oh, what's this? An ambush featuring a pair of Revenants and a Pinky. Imagine my surprise. Anyways, this is much more interesting for the fact that the author behind it has actually sought to restrict the abilities of the player to more effectively emulate the likes of, I guess they were going for Doom 2016 style. I'm not sure whether it entirely works. An interesting attempt all the same. We've also got a recreation of Entryway in here that I think has less restrictions on it. Pretty easy to breeze through. You'll also be pleased to know that, as required by Doom modding law, there are several renditions of Dead Simple in here, so if you ever wanted to witness 4 plinths with mancubuses on them, you are going to be eating well, my friend. And then there's the Quake E1M1, which comes in 2 different flavors. One is still very much work in progress, but visually is much more accurate to the original map. And then there's the other one, which is a flat-out reinterpretation of what if we just take the layout and just completely change the context. But in all honesty, I find it genuinely interesting to see these varied approaches to reinterpreting these classics. And then there's Bob on Battlefield from Mario 64. Impressively accurate, despite, all the demons, and in my opinion falls into a similar trap that a lot of the legacy maps do, wherein it seems to dump 3/4 of the entire enemy roster on your head within the first 5 minutes. Stepping outside of the realm of reimaginings and into more original territory, we have the likes of Chessboard, which also dumps a shitload of enemies directly on top of your head, and hilariously, it's randomized, so yes, you could entirely have a round of this where there are 3 Marauders running around while 2 Tyrants try to blast several rockets up your backside. Not annoying in the least, but at least it's an interesting thing to give a whirl if you fancy a quick, violent, and chest-based chuckle. Heck, there's even a sequel that brings in additional enemies using the Ancient Gods DLCs. Personally though, when it comes to the type of custom levels that I am keeping an eye out for, I am more interested in levels that utilize pacing a little bit more to their advantage. Give you a bit of breathing room, have peaks and troughs, and don't feel like they're chomping at the bit to launch you straight into an arena and just beat the shit out of you. In that regard, I was impressed with Forgotten Forest. This is a custom map that uses the World Spear location, I believe. A lot of custom geo. Actually has some connective tissue from one section to the next. You got a bit of traversal in there, and the actual fights themselves feel like they've had a bit of thought to what spawns when and how best to allow the player to navigate and deal with that particular issue. It's not assuming that you are a 1,000-hour ultra-violence veteran that has mapped their own keys to their own specific binds and could beat 3 Marauders at the same time with their eyes closed. No, this one features 2 Marauders at the same time, but crucially, at least it butters you up first. In almost direct contrast, there is a level in the custom browser here by the name of Infernum, and that one seems like it's going to start off in a similar fashion. It's got a bit of connective tissue between sections, but oh my god, the first major encounter it puts you in, I was freaking exhausted by even the second to third set of spawns that came in on this narrow plinth with 3 small platforms with no freaking space to fight and just a lava pit surrounding it. And why are there freaking Hell Knights? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Where's the lube? But yeah, I guess this is the kind of thing that is gonna settle itself down over the months to come when it comes to the type of custom content that's generated for Doom Eternal. Because on one hand, the people that are making custom content for Doom Eternal are, of course, going to be die-hard fans. They love this stuff to such a degree that they want to make their own. And of course they're going to want to make challenging maps that test even their considerable experience with the game. They want to push those boundaries. They want to see how high they can raise that skill ceiling. And on the other hand, there's experiences that I personally am more hoping to see manifest over time. And that's custom levels that take advantage of the much wider toolbox that's available when it comes to level construction. Because as much as people enjoy it, Doom Eternal is not always 100% about the combat. There is downtime. There is exploration. Heck, there's even portions of the main campaign where you've got to engage in a challenging bit of platforming. Now, I freely admit some people may absolutely loathe those, but I would be really interested to see people make interesting traversal challenge runs. Heck, I'd even let you throw in a few cacodemons there for shits and giggles, but yeah. All in G time. As I say, it's only been a month, and even then that is a minuscule amount of time to get to grips with stuff like idstudio. But interesting stuff is doubtlessly starting to percolate in this modding scene. Something I've seen that hopefully bears fruit over the coming months or even years is tweaking of certain bits of enemy AI to make them do different things. And you could go anywhere with that. That could be a whole other creative branch that emerges out of Doom Eternal modding. But again, you're going to have to wait and see. Maybe I'll check back in 6 months and see how it looks then. Before I go, however, I'm going to spend some time crapping on the mod browser, because as it currently stands, it kinda sucks. Bugbear number 1. Why do I have to log in every single goddamn time I want to use this thing? Can you not save my login details? Bugbear number 2. It's nice that you have all of these hashtag designators for different types of map and mod and what have you. It would be even better if I could just select that particular tag and have the list populate with every mod that uses that tag. As it currently stands, you have to search for something and then hit the button for it to populate the list. But what if you don't know what you're looking for? What if you're just interested of mods of that category? At the moment, the facility isn't there. And it's a problem that will only increase in magnitude as more and more people submit mods. Bugbear number 3. Selecting the available list of viewable mods on a page any greater than the default crashes the browser. Good. And finally, Bugbear number 4. You can only rate thumbs up on mods. There is no way to voice disapproval. Heck, there isn't even a way to directly comment on what you thought about a mod. And yeah, I feel like feedback would be important for this kind of stuff, because there's a fair amount of work in progress mods there, and it would be really valuable to directly communicate what could be tweaked, what could be improved, and, you know, all that good stuff. Anyway, Bethesda, fix that. And as for you lot, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought and whether or not you've already dabbled in Doom Eternal mods or modding yourself. How do you feel about this nascent scene now that idstudio is available for all to use, and what are your hopes for the future? Big thanks to my patrons currently scrolling up screen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you'd like to do the same, you'll find the link in the description below, and until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.